Let's start. I always show this picture when I do speed reading. Do you all feel something like that? Whenever you're going to read your textbooks, whenever you want to be able to read many things, it seems as if you don't even have enough time. I want to read so many things, and you've got a great library over here, right? And you can be able to read so much, but time and sometimes the effort is not there. And so this picture shows a little bit of how we are in the information age. We need to be having some tools, some little things that help us, some strategies to be able to help us to do that. Today, short period of time, over 2 hours, we might be able to share with you a little of something which can be able to perhaps let you stand on the water a little bit. We won't be able to get you to be swimming very fast in this just over 2 hours, but it really depends on yourself, right? So let's move on. I just want to show you this little picture that I got from a friend. I also do courses in mind mapping, and my friend sent me this particular photograph telling me, hey, do you know who this guy is? He was asking me, and does anybody know who this guy is? Recognize him from the side now? Nobody knows him? Yeah, he was the vice president of the USA, Al Gore. But he didn't invent algorithms, he's not him. But however, my friend told me, if you look at this at the top of his head, there is this little mind map. He says, you teach mind map, so I show you Al Gore, so you know, uses mind map. You know. So I says, so small, who is able to see? But however, as I looked at this picture, do you see how much reading material he has? Do you in your room got 3, 4 monitors just to read news or perhaps information that you perhaps might look at the tons of things that he has on the issues of reading and want to get information. And how do we do that? And we want to be able to read, right? So are you somewhere behind there? And of course, when we have this kind of things, when we need to be able to read, we certainly hope that we can be able to get ahead. And how do we do that? Let's move on and say, now, reading. Tell me what is reading to you, ladies and gentlemen. What is reading to you? In your own words, what is reading? Anybody? Just shout it out. Information, yes, thank you very much. Anything else? What is reading? To relax, enjoying the story. Exactly. Reading is those things, depending on what your purpose is. And we're going to come back to that later. But reading basically is this. It's understanding what the author intended. Someone must have written the thing for you to read, right? And so that author wanted to mean something. And so we want to be able to understand what that author meant is in reading, right? And so that's what we want to be able to achieve. And also how do we read, or how do we see in that sense? All right, we see with our eyes, definitely. I'm not going to go into a science story on this. I mean, I think your science students are better than me in explaining how it wants to be. But remember, and even if you're a science student, and you want to be able to look at how we want to be able to see, how do we see? Do you notice that even if we see, they tell me that whenever pictures come into our eyes, it is really upside down. Right? And how do I then see you right side up? The brain, most important thing. And so therefore, yeah, we actually see with our brain. I'm going to show you a little slide of that. And to preempt that, we use our eyes, ladies and gentlemen, to read. And one of the most important things that we want to be able to realize also is that when we read, we are actually using our eyes like a camera. And how do you use a camera? You go click, 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 click. Now with all the smartphones, you click, 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 click. I just bought a gadget the other day that I can actually expand fish eye into doing your own selfies. I think all of you have got that. And so we be able to use our eyes like a camera, and that's how we are actually reading. All right? And I'll go on a little bit further with that as I share with you what's going to happen and what it is exactly. Now, we want to first of all realize very much so that reading is a thinking process. It is not in a vacuum. Now, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, it's as if, let's say if you read something and you read it and that's it, wanting to understand what it is, it does not occur in a vacuum just by reading it. It occurs in your brain. It occurs where when you read something, your brain or your information or your knowledge tells you, hey, have I seen something like this before? How do you want to be able to integrate and do all those things? So reading is a thinking process. It never occurs in a vacuum. It's just not reading that sentence per se and understanding it like so. So therefore, we must understand it is a thinking process, right? And so within a thinking process, we want to be able to also realize that, like in any skill, we learn, like in football or whatever it is that you're learning in any skill. I take that for example in terms of sports, is that it can be learned. No one was born reading fast. No one was born being able to read very, very fast or doing something. So therefore, in a sport, for example, like badminton, you get better at it while practicing, isn't it? You do better as you move along, as you want to be able to do that, right? And so it is a psychomotor skill that can be learned. And so why do I show you this? The reason is a lot of people will come here, can or not? You can only, I maybe cannot. And that's why I'm showing you this. Nobody in this world is born that they can be able to read very fast and understand everything. So that's why you're coming to school, yeah? And so therefore we get information, we learn, and so on and so forth. So just like in any subject you want to be able to, in terms of reading faster, it is a psychomotor skill which can be learned like any other skill, right? Great, we've got that over with. And I just want to also tell you this. Your attitude is crucial. You know, like in learning anything, your attitude is important. Because if you say, I don't want to learn, what happens? You will never learn. Right now, I want to learn. That's what you're telling your brain to do. So if you have that attitude, then it'll be good. So it all depends on you. How fast you want to go is actually dependent on yourself. Whether I want to do it or how hard do I practice and so on and so forth. So your attitude is very crucial. Having gone past that, saying that it is a skill that you can be learned, saying that it's an attitude crucial to yourself, then we move into what actually is reading. Just want to share with you very quickly what reading is. Why am I not coming out? Technology does not follow instructions sometimes. There's supposed to be a picture coming up. All right. If the picture does not come up, we'll write. Forgive my cakap ayam handwriting. Now, there are 7 parts. There are 7 parts to reading. As per se. The first one is called recognition, and I'm going to explain one by one. The second one is assimilation, intra-integration, extra-integration, same thing as this, do. And then you have the 2 R's of memory, retention, recall, and then the last one is communication, which I'm supposed to have on that page. But these are the 7 sort of things that make up reading in totality. Don't worry if you can't read it. I'm going to show it on the board one by one, but I wanted to show you in a big picture format first. It's recognition, it's assimilation, it's intra-integration, extra-integration, retention, recall, and communication. If does not want to show me here, want to argue with me, but I'll show you one by one, don't worry. The first one is recognition. Recognition says when you read, you're looking at something and you need to be able to recognize what you see, isn't it? Whether it be picture form, whether it be word form. And so therefore, your ability to recognize what you're reading in terms of alphabets, words, and pictures is important. That's the first part of reading. Now, if that is understood, we want to move on very quickly into assimilation. What is assimilation? The ability to then take in that thing. For example, if you sit there and then sometimes you notice, especially when you are students, sometimes you're very attentive. But sometimes when you're listening to the lecturer talking, it's like, can't go in, I don't know why, you know. I mean, I'm trying very hard, you know. But all of a sudden The ability to receive that information. Well, our eyes do this in the first place, and our brain does the processing. Perhaps sometimes when we have when people like us who do a lot of talking, we sometimes say 2 o'clock is a not very good time. Everyone had lunch already, yeah? Or after lunch, blood, they say, go to the stomach, and then something happens in that sense, right? So assimilation is whether you can be able to take in that information and how you want to be able to do it. That's the second one. The third one is called intra-integration. Big words, but it's very simple to understand. It's basic understanding. You link the info being read. For example, if someone says and gives you a piece of information, you just don't go into it yourself as a vacuum. You come to yourself and say, hey, have I seen something like that before? Is this topic or subject matter at all new to me, or I know a little bit about this, and so on and so forth, right? It's making sense of the material by connecting them to the appropriate parts, meaning within yourself. I've learned a little bit about this science already. I've learned a little bit about this mathematics or whatever it is. So here it's called intra-integration. You integrate that information that you've already learned with what new information that you're trying to read now. And that's intra-integration for you. Of course, where there is intra, there will also be extra. All right? The extra integration moves in this way, whereby if you have new information coming in, you as a person will be able to analyze it. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it right, is it wrong, and so on and so forth. You will make your own judgments, right? And you connect the previous knowledge with what you have read. So you select and reject, you critique and appreciate. Sometimes we have some moral values. Some information comes into your place and say, hey, this is not very good. I don't want to go, I don't want to follow, or whatever it is. Yeah? And so that's extra integration for you. And we move on. Retention. I'm not going to talk very much about retention and recall because it really belongs to another subject matter which is called memory. All right, the 2 R's of memory: retain and recall. The first one, retention, basically means did you take it in the first place? All right. So if sometimes when you are studying or you're in the lecture hall and the lecturer asks you, did you remember what I said just now? And then you look up. Why? Because I didn't retain, meaning the attention was not there. I didn't absorb it into my mind. So there was no retention, the ability to store information and knowledge. So when someone says, I don't remember something, it might not be all that correct. If you didn't retain, how to remember? If you had retained, you might be able to remember in that sense. So that's the first part of memory, retention, and then of course the other part is called recall. Recall goes into the ability to retrieve information on demand. And so you all, as students, have to have good memory because after you have studied already, you go into the exam hall, you must retrieve that information on demand. And if you cannot at that point in time, and sometimes after the exam you come up, but you can't go back in and write again, right? So therefore, the ability to retrieve on demand is very important as well, right? And so the last thing that I want to talk about in terms of what reading exactly is communication. Do you realize that if you've learned something, you've read something and you've learned something into your place, if you can be able to communicate it out to someone else, you've learned that. But if you cannot, you might not have learned it fully in that sense. So therefore, communication is a very important part of it. And so sometimes when your friends who didn't attend the lecture ask you to, hey, can you tell me what happened? Be very glad to do it. Because if you can do it, then it would show that you have learned something, right? Because if you can repeat it out, the communication part is very, very important. Yeah? And so that's the 7 parts of reading, as we want to be able to call it. So much for that. We come to a part where you have to do something instead of me have to do all the talking. Yeah? So you need to be able to know your reading speed. How many people here have tested their own reading speed before and know what their reading speed is? No? Okay, good. So what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to do something with you. And of course, Chinese comes up first, of course. What is your reading speed? And I'll just show you how to be able to do that. All right, very easy. Find the average number of words per line. So let's say you have something to read, your textbook or your one chapter in whatever it is, or a passage that you have with you. So you find the average number of words per line. So you have maybe 300 lines, 200 lines, or 100 lines, up to you, right? The reading material. So you count the number of words in each line on the average. So you take a average sample and you say, okay, this is 9 words per line, 10 words per line, 15 words per line. So you add them together, divide, and say, so that's A. Count the total number of lines read, B. So like I said, 100, 200, 300 is really up to you. Multiply A plus B gives you C, simple formula. And the number divided by the number of minutes will be your reading speed. It will be called WPM. Anyone can guess what WPM is? Thank you very much. Not WBS, words per second is simply too fast. You don't need to come to this class then. Right? So WPM is what we will be looking for. So very simple formula. And what we're going to do is, now, I want you to check your own reading speed. Now, count so far. Okay, let me just show you something here. I've done a little bit of help for you already. If you look at the front page, you look to your left. I mean, this book actually is a photocopy from a book. This is two halves of the book, yeah? If you look at the right-hand side, the page, but left margin, you'll see a little dot there. Do you see a little dot? Faded dot, not so dark. But that dot I've put there and I've counted already. If it's to the end of the line, it's 100 words. Now if you look at the next page that you read, and you see in the left-hand margins, there will be dots as well. The second dot is 200, third dot means 300, and so on and so forth. So therefore, you would have, I have counted for you already, and you count, of course, the balance of 10, 20 words, you have to count yourself, okay? So you do that and count. Then you want to be able to then find your own reading speed. So I'm not going to check what you have, you will know what yourself. So here, it's from people who are reading 100 words per minute to 1,010 words, 1100 as the American calls it, right? 11 words per minute. So what is the sort of computation, or what does it mean? If you are at this level, 240 is average reading speed. Now, I know a lot of people say, are you sure? That kind of thing. 240 average reading speed. And the United Nations defines functional literacy as 400 words per minute. Okay, another one comes up on your heart, right? But however, I think very much based on English as their mother tongue reading, you might get to that level. All right, for us, we would be somewhere around 200 if you're pretty good. And I've seen people who are doing about 150 thereabouts. All right, and so that's what the world defines as reading speed in English. Now, some people are educated in Chinese and Mandarin. You read much faster in Chinese, I would gather, right? And so here, I just wanted you to know a definition of what does it mean for the figures that you are having in front of you. Now, if you go right up to 900 words per minute, it's 0.1% of the population. And they are top professors and editors simply because they have to read very much. Right? They have to write, they have to read a lot every day, and that's their profession, ultimately. And of course, if you are at 1,100 words per minute, you'll be 0.01% of the population of the world. And that's what the speed that they are, right? And for us to be able to move up there, well, it takes a little practice. It takes a little bit of attitude, as I say, because we must also look at the point of view that I can be able to do it. It's not just these people who are there. They are not gifted, zing, and then today, and everyone walks past me and I zing, okay, you can go and speed read. No such thing. It's really up to you, and given some strategies and techniques that we're going to share with you today, perhaps you can be able to top that speed. Right, good. I want to show you this lady. Her name is Vandernoor. She was the managing director of Luzerne Centers in UK as well as in the United States. She read at 3,000 words per minute. Competition timeline. It doesn't mean that every time she picks up a newspaper, it's like, no. Competition. When there's a challenge and we say, okay, her speed record is 3,000. She's not the fastest in the world. The fastest in the world was another person who was a journalist, 3,800 words per minute. All right, and so this is, again, how fast people can be able to read. Now, of course, what we want to be able to do is, if we read faster, does it mean that you understand? A lot of people are can they read so fast, cannot understand now. Okay, let's do something with you. Do I have your page? There are, let me share with you. On the last page, you will also have questions, 10 questions. I would like you to answer those 10 questions. There are multiple choice questions. Sometimes they are yes or no, true or false, sometimes ABC. I'd like you to answer those questions. And then I'll read your mind a little bit. Hey, But I didn't finish reading, how to answer? Answer as well. When you finish your topic or subject that you're studying in a particular subject, you finish all your textbooks up, then only go for exam. Got like that, man? I never seen like that before. But anyway, try to answer the questions, please. Answer them all. Even if you didn't read the part, answer them all. By the way, to make the data a little bit more perfect, we should not discuss with your friends, okay? It's your own. Shy about saying I'm not done because I need time to think. Yeah? So everyone needs time because in reading, I will give you the timing, but in answering questions, no need to have speed. You need to be able to think. But of course, my comment would also be silence means consent. Means you don't say anything, means finish up. How? We done? Done. Okay, great. Now, just curiosity's sake, how many people are familiar with this material that you've just read? Show of hands. Battlefields and boardroom. Can you tell me, can you name someone that you know uses this, or whoever, or something, or somebody who did this, or who wrote this, or who you think? Anybody knows? Yes, the guy on the strategy of war, right? Is it Sun Pi? Okay. He wrote the what was the name of the book called Sun Tzu, right? Sun Tzu Bin Fa, right? Okay, my Mandarin is poor, so now some of you might be familiar with that. Some of you might not be, right? But for those who are familiar, you read a little bit faster. I know about this, that kind of thing. But for those who are not familiar, they read a bit slower. Yeah. Okay. But for my talking to you now, how's the speed like? Is it okay? Can understand? Or do I need to slow down, go faster? Okay? Speed is alright, Okay, fine. Right. Next thing you need to be able to do is then whether you are correct or not. Right. So now I'm going to give you the answers. Yeah? You mark yourself to see where you are in terms of how much did you read. And just for my own curiosity's sake, did anyone finish, put up your hands, reading the whole 6 pages? Don't be shy. I've had people who shy, finish reading. No one put up their hand. I better not put up something funny about me. Maybe. You are a speed reader, my friends. Right? If you did finish it. Right? Simply because that is, I would say that those 6 pages, if you are not an efficient, proficient speed reader, you would not, definitely more than 300%, you will not be able to finish that. If you finish 2 pages, very good already, right? In that sense, right? So therefore, if no one finished, good. I will then give you the answers. Battlefields and Boardroom, it's actually written by Sun Tzu, right? The Art of War. 1 is C. 2 is B. 3 is C. 4 is C. 5 is A. 6 is true. 7 is C. 8 A. 9 is B. 10 is also true. Just for, again, curiosity's sake, the questions that I ask, you look around the room and you see what's happening around here. How many people read more than 4 pages? Hands up. Put your hands. How many people read more than, read 3 pages? How many people read 2 pages? It's 1 3, 2 page. Can I have 3 again? I didn't see. 3. 3 pages. Hands up, please. There's a lady back there, there's a lady back here. Any more? Okay. Then we go to 2. 2 pages. Okay. 1. Okay. A lot of the rest. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Now, let's have people who got 10 correct. Hands up. 1. 2. People who got 9 correct. Okay. 3, 4, 5, 8 correct. A lot more. 7 correct. See? 6, 5, 4, and below. Okay, fine. Now, no one read more than 4 pages. There were a lot of people who got 7s and 8s. 80 marks, no? A already, no? Now, what would be the data involved here? It would be a long process, but on the long and short of it, do you need to read everything to be answer all the questions? Sometimes you do bandai, but again, I say reading is a thinking process. You don't just bandai. Just like if you are in America, we are allowed to carry guns. We are not allowed to here. They carry guns, also got 6 bullets only. But you don't simply shoot finish already. You cannot shoot anymore. The other guy has guns, still has bullets, he will shoot you back. Right now. And so therefore, we need to be able to think before we answer, right? And you are thinking in a thinking process to be able to assure yourself, hey, which would be the best answer to that, right? Okay, we'll leave this for a while, and we want to move on very quickly into how were you taught to read in the first place? Do you remember? Quite long ago, you guys are not so, when you use the word, people always say, you guys are not so mature, right? But do you remember how you were taught to read in the beginning? Read after the teacher, yes, all right? And it would be something like in this form, the lok say method, all right? And the teacher would say, and a lot of times they would have this picture, cow, and then you say cow, and then the picture would not come out. Or the teacher would not say, just to give you the picture, and he would say cow in that sense. The look say method, follow after the teacher, right? And so we move on into the phonetics, which we learn as ESA, TU2, BA bar, TU2, bar 2 kind of scenario. And so the phonetics method was learned. But somewhere along the line, I'm not pretty sure exactly, standard 3 or standard 4, the teacher said, don't read aloud anymore. You're disturbing your friends. Correct or not? We need to be able to stop and then read inside here. But although we do that, but we still, because we got used to it. That's how we learn and how we read. And so here is the grand picture of how speed reading is being sort of held back. We learn to read by opening our mouths to speak because you need to understand. No fault of the teachers because he or she needs to know whether you're understanding or not, whether you can read or not. If you don't mouth it out, how does he or she know you're doing it correctly? And so he or she had to do that. But along the way, they asked you to stop, and that was the time when we were being held back. Held back by saying, we are still reading with our mouths, right? Have you seen people who, or perhaps what we want to be able to say is that you can be able to read with your eyes much faster than you can be able to speak. And so therefore, that's perhaps one of the holding back methods that we want to be able to share with you, and we want to be able to take out, in that sense, if you want to be able to read faster. So, phonetics. And we want to be able to, with that phonetics, we want to be able to look at some of the delusions. People who know Mandarin, read the Mandarin word, I don't know how to explain it in Mandarin, but delusions are things that are not correct. Right? We think they're correct, but they're not correct. One of them could be this. To understand a book's content, we must read it slowly and carefully. Why not correct? Right, you open up your book, you read it slowly and carefully, read every line, every word. You know how you understand? What I was saying just now was you can actually read faster than you speak. Right? And so if you read everything very slowly and carefully, you do this. If I were to say, or perhaps start this afternoon session like this, today, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share with you something very interesting. It is called speed reading. Now what happens to you when I speak like that? You would go to sleep, in that sense, right? Because, why? I'm not so boring, but however, the way that I speak is with how do you call it? The speed with which I speak is very much slower than what you can think. You can think very much faster. So therefore, if I go faster, you will stay focused in that sense. When you stay focused, then you'll be able to capture most things. So therefore, when you say read slowly and carefully, might not be the best way to capture information from that point of view. One of the next things would be, always start reading at the beginning of the book and go through to the end. Guess what? If I don't read chapter 1, how I don't know chapter 4, what happens? Correct. But however, if you want to be able to, well, I always give the extremes for examples. Right? If you read a detective novel, in the beginning, the butler got killed. What do you want to do? You want to find the answer, who done it, right? How do you find that? Go to the end of the book, right? Then you find who did it. The uncle, or the grandfather, or whatever who did it, right? And so therefore, that is one clear example of how we want to be able to look. No need to read from the beginning to the end. You look for what you want to know. Yes? Even in textbooks, even in studies, and so on and so forth, right? And so therefore, there could be some delusions in that. One of the other delusions could be this. Look up a word that you don't know right away. Read already. This word don't know how. Don't understand. If I don't look it up in the dictionary, then I don't understand. Right now. But again, how many times have you experienced whereby if you read a whole passage, the whole passage meaning depends on one word? As you read on, you still understand roughly what it's going to say, right? And so it takes a lot of time. It might not be the best way to do it. So these are some of the delusions. There are many, many more delusions that we think is correct, but they are not. But I'll leave it to the end, if I can. Now, a guide only gets in the way of the words. Now, how many people read by using your fingers or by using a little pen or something to keep you where you are? Can I have a show of hands with that? Okay, so which means the other people don't lah. Am I correct to say that? Okay, good. Now, you're all following this one? A guy gets in the way. So if I want to read this example, right now, so what this delusion is trying to say is that if I use my guide or a pen or whatever it is, a pointer or whatever, it will then get in the way of the words. It will block me from reading faster. It could be true, but I'm going to show you a little technique later on that this, when we use it, you use the guide in a different way. There are a lot of speed reading people who teach. But one of the things that we want to be able to teach is a guide is good. A guide is not bad, right? But I'm not let the cat out of the bag. I'm going to show you that technique right at the end. So this guide only gets in the way of the words because it's what you're doing. Let me just show you what you're doing actually. If you do use a guide right now and you think it's getting in the way, this is what you're doing. When you point, I mean this is bigger words now, and in your reading it's not so bigger words. When you point to the word with your finger or your pen, two things are happening. First, you're pointing, your eyes see. After that, your brain thinks. Your brain will say, I have finished reading this recognition word. Please move to the next word. Finish. That's what you're doing. I mean, I'm slowing it down, but that's what happens, the process that happens. See, brain tells hand, Sudah, finish, let's go to the next one, and so on and so forth. And that's what is slowing down. In the technique that perhaps I'll be showing you a little bit later, we want to do it the opposite way. And how it's going to be, let's find out very quickly. Alright, I'll leave that to the end. I want to just show you very quickly efficient reader and a good or a bad reader. Right? We want to be able to achieve efficient reader status. A good reader, what will it have? What will he or she have? Number one is purpose. When you read, you must read with a purpose. I used to do this. I go to a bookshop and I look, wow, this title sounds very good. I must buy it and read. And this title sounds very good. And so on, you end up with a lot of books at home. Got read, no? It's still there. Title very nice, right? But what is your purpose? Well, the most important thing is that you must have a purpose. In order for you to read and understand, if you don't have a purpose, I bet you 2 chapters you're bored. What was the purpose that I wanted to read this book? I don't know. If you don't have a purpose, it will be very bad, right? Able to find the main idea. When you read something, you look at paragraphs. That paragraph talks about what? If you can decipher what it means or what is the main point there, you're a good reader. Evaluate ideas and concepts. What is the idea behind what I'm reading? Very important. Read variety. We don't read one thing or one topic, that's all. And of course, a desire to better yourself. A desire to say, I want to have more knowledge, I want to have so and so and so on. What about a poor reader? It's exactly the opposite, ladies and gentlemen. There's no real reason, aimlessly struggle. Because if you buy a book by the title and just read, like I said, by 2nd chapter, you're struggling. What is it that I'm trying to understand? Lost in the words. You believe everything that is being written or being printed. You're one track. I don't want other things. I don't read any other material. I only want this one. And of course, ultimately, when you're not an efficient reader, you will be feeling bored. You would hate reading simply because there's no purpose. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, no issue at all. So difference between a good reader and a bad reader, which becomes and wants to become an efficient reader in the long run. Yeah? Okay. I want to talk a little bit about purpose. Purpose is important because if you don't have a purpose, the reading is just aimless. When you have aimless reading, it's boring, you can't get information, and so on and so forth. So, purpose of reading is important. Whenever you read a book, whenever you read a topic or a title or whatever it is, there must be, what do I want to find out? Right? What purpose you can decide what to read. Therefore, to seek information, general knowledge, blah, 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 and so on. Yeah? So here, I want you to read this very quickly. Before that, someone was reading. I didn't want you to read first, but I'll just give you a 10-second time frame to read this. And I want you to find out how many times C-A-T, cat, appears in the passage. Generally, if you look at this one, it's 5. Yeah? But if you were to look at the whole situation, this one and this one will give you 7. Yeah? Look, what happens if I didn't say look for cats? Then only I say cats. The purpose was not there. Then you did not know what to look for. Right? And you see, in reading, if there's no purpose, it will be very suicide. Yeah? This is one example that I want to show you in terms of reading. The purpose could be more specific and easier if you use maybe 2, perhaps, questions. In the long run, how worthwhile is the material I'm reading? What do I want to look for in the long run? What do I need to remember in this particular one? Especially for you guys who are students, who want to be able to remember those things that are important and pertinent in that. So therefore, purpose plays an important role in the things that we are able to do. Okay, find your purpose, of course, is sometimes in your reports, what in a memo, in a book, in a novel, in a magazine, in newspapers. What is it that you want to be able to look at? So therefore, they will have different meanings and different purposes if you have different materials to read. Yeah? Okay, so much for that. Now we want to be able to look at keywords as well. Keywords gives us the meaning to what we want to be able to read. It helps us understand info that we take in. Of course, 90% of the words that we read are non-keywords. And so we want to be able to identify it. Sometimes when we read, what are the things that help us to understand that passage? Because certain things like is or are, the, and by itself has no meaning. We need to be able to identify some of the things which are keywords. And also we need to be able to identify the main ideas, just now as we talked in what do you call it, the efficient and good or the bad reader. 1 or 2 words describing the meaning, be able to pick out the main idea in a sentence or a paragraph. That's what we want to be able also to learn from that. Of course, you all get what I'm trying to mean, right? Keywords, you all use keywords because in the textbook you read and you underline the keywords or you highlight the keywords and then you have the main idea. But however, what I always say is that when I ask people, do you understand? Yes. And then how does the lecturer test for understanding? Normally, your lecturers, don't tell me, I know, test law, correct? Alright, if that's the case, I want to find out main ideas as to how you want to be able to identify. If I show you some sentences, can you tell me what is the main idea of this particular couple of sentences, let's say? What would be the main thing that they're talking about, for example? It's the KL Tower, isn't it? So you identify the things. KL Tower, and it is the 4th tallest telecommunication tower in the world, and so on and so forth, right? And so here, we need to be able to identify very easily. What are we talking about here? In a smaller class, I usually throw presents and gifts and chocolates. These are too big, like a class. After, I don't know who is it. But anyway, what would you think that the main idea for this? Thank you very much. Famous buildings. And what are the famous buildings? Do you see? It's the Central Market, Daya Bumi, and Twin Towers. Thank you very much. Great stuff. You can identify. And that's how we want to be able to read. Now, tell me what would be the main idea here, or the topic. It's a bit longer, it's a bit... Sometimes the word is not there. Well, it's sometimes, it could be not there, but sometimes the word is also not there. What would you think it would be? All these things happen where? The mall will be there, right? Because all these are peripheries that we mentioned. And what I meant by sometimes the word might not be there is this. What about this one? Thank you very much. It's a frog, isn't it? By this thing describing that there in and around the pond many different animals, insects and fish. One of them begins life swimming as a fish but becomes like to eat insects. It's often thought as lazily sitting on a lily pad. Not having the name of that thing, but if you know what it is about, it's a frog in that sense, right? And so therefore, we learn to be able to identify the main idea in a topic. And that's how it's being done. When you read, all those things are actually not important, but the frog is important. Right. Okay, very good. Now, the next thing I want to talk about basically would be context. Context is important apart from purpose is because the context is basically what it is understand the whole picture, use words used to join them together. So which means you need to look before and after as well. The context of what is happening when we do reading. For example, this one. This guy says, what's it say? What is it saying? It's an old type newspaper, this one, right? It says bird, eye, wriggly line, beetle, goose, flower, lump, bird, and snake. Do you read like that? I mean, this is hieroglyphics, but what you read is you're actually reading it. He's asking for the meaning, not word by word. Correct? Right? And so therefore, here the context will be all gone if you read one word by one word. Right? The meaning is not there. And so perhaps context would be in this manner as well. Can you fill in the blanks for me? What would be the position of the... Okay, Ang Yang di Putuan Agong is rotated among the 9 sultans or rulers in Malaysia, correct? Now, the context is such that if you are a Malaysian and know about Malaysian history, you know. Ask somebody from the US, correct? That's what I mean by context, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you know a little bit about that, that's context. What about this one? This is not context, this is how you read. Okay, let's read. The young girl was dressed in an... How are you able to do that? because you don't need to read everything before you understand it. And now you're understanding reading is not appearing in a vacuum, but you extrapolate what it is. How do you know it's not blink? But cannot put blink there, you put blink or dink, it doesn't have any meaning. It's pink, right? And the party could be pretty and so on and so forth, right? And so the context is very important as you put the things together as you read. All right, of course, lastly, I want to show you the context of this particular one is in a humor. It says, that sounds like red eye, help. So the chief is calling for help. What can I do to help? Drop me a line, idiot, and hurry. I don't see that's how that's going to help him. Dear red eye, just lying to let you know that I'm fine. You see the context of the meaning? Do you understand it? Drop me a line means throw me a rope lah. The context of it is then you will pull him out. But he says drop me a line. I thought you were going to write him a letter. Drop me a line in that sense, right? And for the chief of a tribe, he sure has some dumb ideas. And so he's thinking this guy is stupid. But however, he got the misunderstood, the topic that the chief wanted to tell him. So that's context for you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, context would also know that you must know a little bit about this, what you're reading as well. Can you just read this very carefully? What's the answer? Does it say, pick the most answer likely for the context of the previous passage? They should stay out of the sun. Do not use these creams. Use these creams. Do not want to get cancer. How many people say C? How many people say A? A. B. Okay. D. Everybody also got on this room. I thought only one or two would not have. Let's go back and see what it says. In fact, most young people, what? Do not use these creams in that sense. If you must look at the context. It seems use these creams, or it could be D. Do not want to get cancer, which is all about cancer in the first place, right? Let's do this one. One more for context before we move on. What do you say? Influenced by the weather, influenced by the environment and the culture, not influenced by anything independent of cultural factors. More sure already. Now, the context and the purpose that you're looking for, it's B, right? Okay, good stuff. So I just want to show you that we are, right? Language is a topic, rich with vocabulary, expressions. For example, Eskimos have words described as snow, so which means the culture is important, right? Influenced by environment and culture as well. Right, that's the context. I want to give you two other, what do you call it? I won't call it techniques, but these are strategies. Skimming and scanning. How many people have heard of skimming and scanning? Okay, now what are they? Are you using it now already? Right, let me just explain very quickly what skimming and scanning is. I'll do scanning first. Scanning is simple, it's like a list. Alright, for example, you're looking for a name or a dictionary. Now if you look at a dictionary, you look under A, you go down. Alright. For example, if people who are in accounts, for example, you look at January, February, March, April, May. And so you look through as a list. Right? Simple. Scanning is viewing and looking for material or for a particular information. And so therefore you need to be able to do that, and that's called scanning. And of course skimming from the other angle would be you look at a pre-selected material. General overview, similar as previewing, and provide frameworks. Let's look at scanning first. And what do you do in scanning? Scanning basically in one sentence is that you're looking for something that you have a purpose for. You're looking at something that you already know you want to do, all right? You want to look for. All right, for example, like I said just now, I want to look for this person's name in a telephone directory. When you get to it, ting, you would know, isn't it? I'm looking for May's account. Ting. you know, right? So that's called scanning. All right, and so scanning, high-speed reading, you have a question in mind, you know what you're looking for, not every word is read, and so therefore these are some of the strategies in terms of what you want to do. Can you get through this? What are you looking for? Numbers 1 to 20. But I want you to go in according to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you find them? You find them at your own speed. Okay? Some people say, cannot. What I'm trying to do for you is, what did I explain scanning as? It's something that you know you want. Yeah? One, after one is what? Where is 2? Where is 3? Where is 4? Where is 5? Where is 6? Where is 7? 8? And so on and so forth. You go to 1 to 20, and that's called scanning. Right? Although they are not in the right manner, this is a little practice of what scanning is about. I'll give you another one. A to Z. Okay? Sometimes you're not finished yet. Alright, done. Now, this is all scanning. Now, you can also go home and you practice. Scanning is something which you'll be able to look for. This is just not, how do you call it? Non-purpose scanning, but the fact is that you know what comes next, then it's easier. If you don't know what comes next, then you can't be able to scan in this manner. Some examples of that. Now, skimming. Skimming is a little bit harder, but it has more effects. Going over material quickly to get a general sense of what it's all about. Like browsing through a gallery of photos, skim a general sense of the material, reading only the words that give sense of the text. Right? So you're just skimming through. Now, I will give you an example of this. I want you to just look at this. And I want you to capture as much information as possible. Skimming, unlike scanning, I didn't tell you what to look for. Scanning is easier because you know what to look for. Question time. How much is the magazine? See, whenever you don't tell you what to look for, it's a lot of things to look, right? It costs. Someone might have seen. There are so many people here. Anyone seen? How much is in the US? How much is in Canada? $3.99, $4.99. Okay, can I ask, how many foods were there? There was a part where they say food. 15 foods to do what? See? 15 foods. One of the things says this person, James Can, goes to where? Sorry? What was that again? No, just say what you say just now. What did you say? What can? She's unsure of herself now. She said something, I heard her say something, but she's not wanting to repeat that. What did you say? No, I said, James Can goes to where? Hollywood, right? But was it you who said something else? No. Do you agree with her? James Can goes to Hollywood? Huh? He says it's Scott Can. Trick question. James Can is the father of Scott Can. It was Scott Can. Alright? Now, one last thing. How do you get six-pack? 7 minutes of workout. This guy is in front now. You guys cannot see. At the back can see or not? Never mind. Let me just show you here. 7 minutes, six-pack. The price is $3.99 for US. Canada is $4.99 over here. Scott Can and not James Can goes to Hollywood. Right? And so you see, skimming and scanning is... Now this is some of a picture, you know. Did the guy distract you or what? I do one more. Here, a picture, maybe it distracts you. Can I ask you to see this? Oh, bloody tough. Skimming. Go through it very quickly. What do you think test questions come out would be? People at the back can see, or is it too blurred? Cannot see, Uh-oh. Okay. Question. Can I go and see Leonardo da Vinci's exhibition in March? Yes. Answer? No. No. Why? February 21st. Thank you very much. Skimming. Where is this going to be held? The whole thing? Museum of Fine Arts in Hunting Avenue also he saw. Just now it must be the price that I asked him, I didn't see it. Huntington Avenue, Museum of Fine Arts, right? Did you get the postcode? It is? 21? No, it's 021, is it? 01115. Museum of Fine Arts. Yes, that's correct. I won't be so cruel as to ask you all those things cannot get out there. On Kawara, you also don't know what I haven't heard. You have heard of Leonardo da Vinci. It is Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, Massachusetts, 02115. Okay, great. And that's how we want to be able to practice things like skimming, things like scanning, right? I'll move on a little bit. This would be an interesting thing. Can I just ask you to find a partner? If you have in your role, just partner with someone who's just beside you or whatever it is. Get a partner. If it's three, still you can partner. Now I want you to do this little exercise for me. You need to exchange roles after that. Sit about 1 foot apart, 1.5 foot apart, right? That's part one. Imagine there is a circle on the forehead of your partner. Not really forehead on top of your head. You know what a halo is or not? Halo is like a halo, right? Round. Now, imagine there's a circle there. Now, the circle is not flat, but the circle is like this. So it's like a drawn on a piece of paper, right? Imagine Use your eyes and trace the circle. Observe, and then, let's say he's my partner. I'm going to observe on top of his head got a circle, and my eyes is going to move. He's going to observe my eyes, and he will tell me after how my eyes move. After that, you change. You will see, I will see your eyes and move. So that's why we need a partner. All right? Her partner is not drawing a circle. Her partner is going back and forth, back and forth. The second part is this, it is a circle. So what does it prove? I want to go back to the first delusion that I said. The guide gets in the way of the eyes. This proves that it is not. It does not get in the way of the eyes. It actually leads you very well. Correct or not? If you people, or for you people who don't use the guide, sometimes when you read, you feel that, all of a sudden, which line are here? That kind of thing. So with the pointer or a finger there, it keeps you there, that's number one. And it actually keeps you on target or on track as to what you're supposed to read. And that's one of the things we want to be able to prove with that. The guide gets in the way of the eyes. And so the technique that I want to actually give you is use your guide. Now, you've discovered one part of the mystery of the guide, which is to keep you on track. That's one. The second part, which is the harder part, what I want you to do would be this. And we need a little bit of practice, and that's why I'm rubbing this off. And the guide, actually, you use it opposite. Just now, what did I say when we're using the guide? The process of which your thinking process goes is you point to a word, and you read the word in your head. Your brain tells your hand, I've finished it, please move to another, and so on and so on and so forth, right? And that's the process by which your brain and your eyes, eye-hand coordination will be doing. However, this time when you're using the guide, what you'll be doing is this. Let's say these lines are words that you're going to read. What you are doing now, you no longer do this. Okay, finish. So that delays your time. What you're going to do now is you're going to point, and you will be pulling the eyes. The pointer is pulling the eyes instead of the eyes telling the pointer to go. Or your eyes or your brain, like in that sense. Right? Understand? The first one is when you say, I read the word, the brain tells the hand, move up because I've read the word. And so on and so on. Now, I want you to pull, the hand moves a little bit faster and pulls your eyes along instead of your brain or your eyes telling your hand to move after you read. So it pulls it a little bit faster. Understand? Questions before we proceed, because you need to understand what I'm trying to tell you before you can do it. And when you do it, then you do it rightly. What is the difference between the first, when I tell you it's a delusion, the second one is the hands leading? It will be a technique for you to go home and practice more. The difference is this. First one is brain telling hand to move. Second, hand pulling your eyes along at a slightly quicker pace than what you're reading at. That is the most important thing to understand. Are we sure of that? Okay? Now, if okay, again, lecturers always say, test lah. Test how? Can you bring out the paper that you were reading just now? Take to where you stopped at. Continue to read. But now, what do? You either have your finger or you have a pen to pull it along faster than what you are actually reading it. Alright? Now, these thoughts will occur in your mind. I'm going to read your thoughts. Cannot understand Mapu so fast, never read the word also. Never mind, I want you to get used to a little bit of speed. Because if you say too fast, you're scared. Alright? And you say, I don't understand. It's what you say, but can you understand more? Were you expecting to get more marks just now by reading only so short a passage? And so here, what we want to be able to get is get rid of the delusions. Pull the hand or the pointer a little bit faster than what you're actually reading right now. Let's try that first. Let's try that. feedback has to come. Because what I seem to see is you're doing, of course that's another part of it that I want to point that out, because that's called sub-vocalization. That's what happened in Standard 3. When the teacher tells you to shut up. And you have been doing that until now. So, what happens? Were you able to pull yourself faster? You can, definitely, physically, yes? But mentally how? Doesn't understand so much, right? You got to get used to that speed in that sense, right? Now, take this analogy. Instead of the word, if we show you a picture, do you read it out or not? You don't. You understand it just like that, isn't it? So when you see a picture, you're not going to read it out. So the concept now is to be able to look at it and move on. Did you see the word? Right? I'm not asking you to memorize it. I'm asking you to understand it, to be able to see and look forward. Pull it a little bit faster than you are able to. Let's try one more time before we move into another, exercise, just to prove that we can be able to do it. We want to be able to, I don't want you to spend all your energy on this particular passage, because I've got another passage for you, and let's try that with this particular technique. Yeah? Right. Can? Yes. Only one yes. You saw that lady on TV, the detective, unforgettable. Yes. But anyway, let's try this. What I want you to do is this. Again, I'm going to give you a passage, and I want you to use this passage to try and see if we can improve our reading speed. So if you have finished, people who are extras, just put it forward. Put it together. If you can't read, if you can't tell me, you cannot pull your eyes along, how are you going to read one group? Like for example, one line has 10 words. I'm going to read 5. That's called groups of words. It's another technique. Alright? Things like, for example, you move forward only, you don't move back. Sometimes people say, I didn't see what. But you did see, whether you captured or whether you want to recognize that you see it or not. So there are many techniques. But this, using the pointer to pull your eyes along, is the most basic and most fundamental one. And it can improve your reading speed substantially if you put your mind to it. Yeah? Everybody got it? Now, don't read it again, because reading again, you will destroy your data. It's not nice, but I'm giving you time to read afterwards. We're going to go 2 minutes again. If everyone has, I'm going to go 2 minutes to see how fast you can read. Now, what are we supposed to do? Pointer, either finger or your pen that you have, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to pull your eyes with the pointer, which means your eyes follow the pointer, not then the pointer follow your eyes. Now, there's a difference, right? The difference is when your eyes follow the pointer, it can pull it faster. But if the pointer follows your eyes or your brain, meaning the brain has to tell the pointer, finish, go to the next word, please. And you snap and you go. But here, you're pulling it faster a little bit. Yeah? Not so fast that you cannot see. That's no point, right? A little bit faster than what you're actually reading now. Okay? That showed that older people performed better. Older people perform. This is easy because your brain is a tremendous organ. It can be able to do much more than you'll be able to think you can. And so therefore, that's why I started with, in the beginning, it's more of an attitude. The tools that we bring along, it helps, basically. But what keeps us from breaking that barrier is always ourselves. Right? Can you or do you want to be able to do it? It's very, very important, because you have the tools for it. It's whether do we want to work a little bit harder at it, in that sense, right? Because people always say, the catchphrase, I remember someone was telling me, success does not go to a chosen few, but success is chosen by a few. Did you get a pun of it? It does not go to someone, it's chosen by those who want to do it. And so the last thing I want to share with you, ladies and gentlemen, is an environment. In terms of reading, Well, we've gone through some of the attitudes, we've gone through some of the delusions, we've gone through some of the strategies and techniques that you want to be able to go. The environment is also important. And before I wrap it up, time is very important in terms of morning and night. What does it mean? Because as a student, you either study morning, night, it's really up to you. You can be able to do the experiment when you want to be able to read. Health, very important. By health, I don't mean that we are not healthy, but students like ourselves, as I was once a student, study for 24 hours without sleeping 48 hours, what's the problem? But the point is, if you get your regular exercise, you can go more than 48 if you want to, in that sense. Yeah? Interference to schedule, yeah, some people do disturb us, but where do we want to be able to keep up with that? And of course, the conditions. Now, one of the most important ones that I want to share with you is basically the distance. Number one, distance from the book. One of the things that I appreciate most as I was a student in my younger days, I remember my teacher said 45-degree angle at about 1 to 1.5 feet away from you. Right distance, all right, to read. And of course, the others are important, the height of chair, material available, the type of light. If you put your hand on the table like this, about 1 feet away, you should see the shadow, which is very diffused. You cannot see a sharp shadow. If it's a sharp shadow, means it is too bright. And so what is the best light? The best light is incandescent, the one invented by, what's his name? Thomas Edison. Yeah? Incandescent light. And of course, sunlight, which is diffused from all directions, is the best. Alright? So we want to be able to look at the environment. And the last thing is the total environment, ladies and gentlemen. I've seen so much and experienced myself. If you want to do any reading, we sit down and then 15 or 5 minutes later, I want to get a coffee. You know? 5 minutes later, no eraser, or no pencil, or no rubber, or whatever it is. So you need to get everything together in your own environment, sit down properly, and continue to read. And once your engine started, don't stop. Don't get distracted out and do something else or whatever. Finish that reading first. Yeah? And with that, I think I want to end it right now for reading and open it for some Q&A before we stop. Thank you very much.